Hello YouTube. All right, today we are going to do another video about the Firebird. We're back on the cooling system. If you watched my last video, I talked about lots of different tips and tricks on how to upgrade your cooling on a Pontiac engine, specifically on my Firebird. I showed the performance of my electric fan. I'll turn the camera around and show you that. This fan is from a Lincoln Mark VIII. It's rated to pull about 3480 CFM. It's got a DC controller right there, hardwired straight to the battery. It's got a sensor probe that pushes into the radiator. Got a 105 amp alternator, driving everything. And today we are going to switch it over. I got on Marketplace, picked up a 7-blade heavy duty fan. This I think was from a 427 Chevy. Might have been in a Suburban too. Might have been for an AC car. So this is a heavy duty fan. Came with a clutch. This is a Eaton AG clutch. Pretty heavy duty clutch. So the two of these, I got a hell of a deal on them. I'm gonna take this electric fan out. It was only held in place by these zip tie things that go through the radiator. I already cut them off. There was one in each of the four corners. So this thing's ready to pop off. I'm gonna put the cooling fan on and give it a whirl. See how it goes before I buy a shroud. Best price I can get shipped for a shroud, it's like $183. So before I get a shroud, I'm gonna go ahead and see how this fan works without a shroud. If it's just a dismal failure, I won't bother spending the money. I'll put my electric back on. But if it shows promise, then I'll invest in a shroud, paint this fan, make everything look pretty. But right now, we're just gonna try it without. Okay, got the electric fan out. You can see the cold case radiator. Just for the fun of it, let's look at the size comparison. This new fan is a 19-inch blade, and it's actually even bigger than this big honking fan, electric fan that came out of the Lincoln Mark VIII. So on this fan, there's only two markings on it. There's this one over here that says ERX. On the other side, it says front. And that's important to know, that you want to make sure to put the front forward. You can also see the witness marks where it had been bolted up to the clutch before. So I'm gonna go ahead and bolt this up now to the clutch. Okay, so before I try to bolt up this fan and clutch onto my water pump pulley here, I want to point out I got an undersized water pump pulley, spin it faster, but I want to give you a tip. So this here is a stud for a carburetor, and I can't remember, but I think I've got a couple spacers behind the water pump pulley, and I don't want them to fall out or get everything twisted around. So before I took these other three bolts out and tried to attempt to put everything on, I screwed this stud in so that I can slide the whole assembly into place and put a couple bolts in, then take this back out and try to keep everything aligned without it falling apart. That's the goal anyway. That didn't work. I hadn't taken into account the belt tension. Ended up knocking it out of place. It'll still help to align it, but I'm gonna end up having to loosen up the alternator and the power steering pump so I can get this bolted up and then retension the belt. Okay, it's bolted up. Got about 3 inches of space between the radiator and the clutch. Once I got a shroud, assuming I get one, have to figure out how that's gonna fit in here, but if I need any more spacers or anything, but now I need to put my belts on, tighten those up, reconnect the battery, and start this thing up. See how it does. It's a big honking fan, 19-inch fan, heavy duty clutch. I'm wondering how this thing's gonna cool. All right, that's that. Got it installed, got the belts tightened up. Everything looks real solid. Got plenty of clearance all the way around. Like I said, no shroud. Moment of truth. Start the car up, make sure nothing flies apart, and then let this thing run. It's a pretty warm day today. Let me check the temperature, and kind of trapped in by my kid's landscape trailer at the moment, so I can't go for a ride, but I can go for a ride later. And if this is successful, we'll get a shroud. So far so good. Started up, running fine. Fan looks straight, doesn't look wobbly. Really curious to see how well this thing's gonna pull. I'd like to get out and go for a ride. I'm blocked in at the moment. It's in the low 80s here today. So I'll try to go for a ride a little bit later on. See how it does without a shroud. If it shows promise, I'll order one and I'll get that installed too. Been idling in the driveway for about 20 minutes. Clutch fan is not a magic bullet at all. It's running just as hot as it did with the electric fan, maybe even more. It's actually creeping up on 220. I'm gonna have to shut this thing down. I really don't see a shroud being a magic bullet either. It was actually running probably a little bit cooler with the electric. I'll probably still buy a shroud, and so many people swear by the clutch fan, but this ain't it so far. Okay, so I did order a shroud from Summit. It's gonna take a couple days to get here, I think. In the meantime, I did want to try to seal up the opening around the radiator a little bit. I'm gonna turn the camera, show you what I mean. So you got this gap here, and I'm kind of worried that air could be circulating around the radiator. So I want to fill in this gap. I got this pipe insulation from the hardware store, and it's pretty good stuff. It compresses down pretty well. So I think what I'm going to do is loosen up the radiator bolt so that it'll tilt a little bit, and then I'm going to shove this around the radiator, then tighten it back up so this will compress down, and I'm going to try to make a real nice seal around the radiator opening, so that when I do get the shroud, all the air is being pulled through the radiator instead of any trying to go around it anywhere and short-circuiting around here. Back at it. Had to quit working yesterday. I had to get to a baseball game. So anyway, the foam rubber, the pipe insulation, it wasn't quite thick enough to go in. It would have to been doubled up, and that was the smaller pipe insulation. So I did buy the thicker style, which is more like a 1/2 inch thick. But while I was also at the store, I bought this other stuff. Let me turn the camera around. Got this stuff called backer rod. It's for gaps and joints, and it's a round tube. It's a closed cell foam round tube, and this one says that it's for gaps up to 1 inch thick. I got the extra large size. As you can see, it's popping in there really nice. I've got these bolts loose holding the radiator in, and I'm just gonna tuck it in all the way around, and then I'm gonna tighten the bolts up, and it should compress down really nice and give me a really nice tight seal for the radiator up against the core support. So go ahead and keep doing that. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. This stuff is where it's at. This turned out really nice. I'll turn the camera around and show you what it looks like. So I seamed it right here so that it's gonna be hidden underneath the fan or the shroud bracket, and then I just tucked it in all the way around, and it fits in there real nice and tight. Then I tightened all my bolts up. So you can see it makes real clean seal. So now I'm gonna have a total seal from the radiator, that it's gonna completely seal it for the shroud. All the air from the shroud for the fan is gonna have to come through the radiator. It's not gonna be able to skip it around. There's a couple little holes in the core support that I could probably stand to fill with something. I don't think those are too much of a concern. I've even heard of I think the 69 Firebird cars had a seal that went across the top of here, and it sealed the core support to the underside of the hood. I don't know if I need to try that or not. I'm gonna give this a try. Still waiting for my shroud to come in. It's supposed to come in on Monday. This is Saturday. So come Monday, we're gonna find out how well this clutch fan works compared to my electric fan. All right, we're back on Firebird. The shroud came in today from UPS, and I've already got it installed. I'm gonna show you what I had to do though to make it fit just perfect. All right, so it bolted up to the stop bracket real nice and easy. To get it to fit in on the side though, I ended up using a grinder to cut a groove in here. So the cold case radiator's got a pretty thick weld, and it was sitting out a little bit. So I cut a groove in the plastic so that it would sit up closer. I don't want any gap. I want it to sit real nice and tight to the radiator. Then the cold case has these tabs that it just popped into, and you can bend the tab back in place so that it holds the fan shroud tight to the radiator. Similarly on the other side, I ground a channel in here so that it would fit tighter because it was really pushing out based on, trying to show you right here. So I just cut a groove in there. And then down there, I had to cut a little bit of the ear off of the fan shroud because the clip wasn't lined up perfectly straight. So I ground a little bit of it off so that the metal clip would hold into place. But the result is I got a fan shroud that sits nice and tight. I did have to take the fan off to be able to drop the shroud in. This is gonna bolt right up. I'm gonna have to loosen my belts up so I can squeeze on in here and get the fan bolted up. This is gonna be a lot of fun trying to reach around there, but whatever. So the 19-inch fan with the shroud, it was a really tight fit. It was just about rubbing on the passenger side. And I had to do a little finagling to get the shroud scooted over a little bit. And even the radiator has a little bit of slide movement. So I loosened the bolts on that, hit it with the pry bar, slid it over a little bit. And there's not a whole heck of a lot of clearance on the passenger side, but it's not touching. And even sitting here idle and vibrating, it's not touching. I haven't punched it yet to see if it kicks up, but the rotation of the motor or engine, it should kick upwards. I think it'll be okay and just clear the shroud. It's not like it's rubbing, but it's pretty darn close. So now this is the test we're gonna see between the sealed up radiator and the big old 19-inch fan with the clutch and the shroud. See how cool this thing gets. It's like high 80s right now, which is pretty warm for Southeast Michigan. You can see I'm sweaty. So we're gonna see how this does. Let it sit here and idle for a while and see what it gets up to. It's been sitting idling in the driveway in the sun with the hood closed for about 15 minutes. And we're at about 194 or so. It's holding cooler than the electric fan. Gonna go for a ride and see how it does, I guess, now. I'm kind of shocked. That electric fan is a really good electric fan. I was skeptical that this clutch fan was going to do better, but so far so good. I'm going to go for a ride and see what happens. All right, so probably driven about 10 miles or so, and this thing is holding steady about 183 or so. I've hammered on it a couple times too, wide open throttle. It's in the low 80s here in Southeast Michigan now. It cooled down a little bit. I'm in the shade, but so far this mechanical fan, it's killing the clutch fan. I mean, the clutch or the electric fan would do okay, but this seems to be doing better. And if I punch it, the heat goes up a little bit, it comes right back down right away. I'm pretty impressed, to be honest. Nice test drive. Low to mid 80s here. Never even got to 190. I hammered on it a couple times and it stayed real steady. It was staying right down around 180. I'm not gonna do a final wrap on this video and post it until I get a chance to go for a test drive on a little bit hotter day, but hot around here, Southeast Michigan. I mean, 90 degrees is hot around here. So I was already borderline there within a couple degrees. So maybe the next couple of days we have another hot day. I'll take it for a nice hard drive, hammer on it, see how it does. But I'm just about ready to say, holy cow, an old school clutch fan beats a modern electric fan. Maybe not an extreme high dollar electric fan, but hey, my Lincoln Mark VIII setup, which I thought was a fantastic setup with the DC controller, was great. It got the job done, but I think this clutch fan might be a winner. All right, it's the next day. Before I wrap up this video, I'm gonna kind of do one last stress test on the new setup, see how it does. It's mid 80s here, Southeast Michigan. It's gonna get up to about 88 today, which is pretty darn hot for around here. Low 90s is about as hot as we get. And when it gets to be that hot, I wouldn't even go out in this car anyway. You could just bake in the sun, black car, roast. So this will be a pretty good stress test. I got to go to an appointment. I'm going to drive the car 30 minutes. There's going to be mixed use on the road, on the highway. Then it's going to park for about 15 minutes and then drive back another 30. So that should be a pretty good stress test for it. We'll see what the temperature looks like during the driving, see what it looks like on the highway, and see what it looks like when we get back home. I did want to flip the camera around and show you one other quick thing I did this morning. So I got to thinking, if sealing things up works so well, there was a gap here in the corner and there was a gap over here in this corner. So I filled those up with a little bit of pipe insulation that I had laying around. Similarly, there was gaps down at the bottom. I don't think you can actually see it, but there was a gap on either side at the bottom, probably about 4 inches wide, maybe about a ½ inch tall. And I packed that with some pipe insulation as well to try to seal this shroud up good. So now the radiator is sealed and the shroud is sealed about as good as I could get it, aside from like putting a little bit of foam underneath the edges or something, but it's pretty well sealed. So I don't think it's gonna get much better than this. Gonna go for this ride now. Just completed a 30-minute trip. I was on about a 50-mile-an-hour road for about 5 miles. Then I got on the highway for about 15 minutes or so. Then I got off the highway and I was in stop-and-go traffic through a residential, downtown area, 25-mile-an-hour stop and go. And this thing is about 195. I'm sitting here idling now making the video, and it's a little closer to 200, but I think it's good. We'll see on the drive home after this appointment how it does, but I think we're doing really, really well here. All right, I'm gonna call it a wrap on this video. I'm gonna call the mechanical clutch fan a success over the electric fan. I've yet to see 200 degrees. Just did an hour round trip, pushing 90 and sunny ambient temperature. Round trip, including the highway, some stop and go traffic, 15-minute break in the middle. Car never saw 200. Most of the time it's sitting right around 190. And when the temperature's a little cooler, like in the evening, we're sitting right close to 180. I'm going to declare it. I'm going to call it, in my particular case, the mechanical clutch fan beats the electric fan. I'm kind of shocked, but numbers don't lie. Anyway, if you like the content, as always, please like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.